Ladies and gentlemen, please notice that exits are conveniently located at the front and rear of this auditorium. When leaving the theater, we suggest that the exit at the front of the auditorium will allow you easier access to the parking areas. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Mike Field.
I'm Mike Butler.
And this is Forgotten Cinema, now showing. And we are going to be doing what movie today, Mike?
We are doing Furiosa, a Mad Max Saga.
Indeed. I'm dark, but that's okay. I kind of like it. I don't want people to see me.
Shrouded in darkness.
I don't want people to see me. It's because I went orange.
Too far away.
It was blue. It was because I went orange.
You got orange?
Yeah. And you can't even see the on-air sign there because it's all blown out.
Yep.
I tell you, man. I tell you. Who cares? Who cares?
Get it together. It's none of it matters anyway. We're all about to hit an apocalyptic wasteland.
Oh,
but the only thing that matters is gas.
And bullets.
And one apricot.
And bullets.
Gas and bullets.
Yeah.
And a lot of cabbage. A lot of cabbage.
Yeah. I mean, we can get right into it. Mike and I saw this movie Sunday night before Memorial Day. And we took a shot because we were, I think, a month before we were debating about whether to see this on Memorial Day. We were concerned that it would be too busy. We didn't know. And then we were like, no, it could be all right. Theaters are dead, right? Like there was that discussion, like, would that be a big deal? And then I was like, let's do like 10:25 at night on Sunday. Let's do a late show, which, and cause I knew I didn't have work the next day. So I knew I could sleep in, which I didn't even happen. So we went to it late. We got home about 1:30, 1:45. And and it was like 8 people in there, you think, including us?
No, I think there ended up being more than that.
No way.
There wasn't a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think there's maybe a dozen people
Okay,
in the end.
I'll give you a dozen. That's fine. We watched it, got into it, and I think I turned to you and I was like, I think the first thing that came out of my mouth was, paraphrasing, of course, was I like it, but I like Fury Road better. And right, was that what the first thing I said came out? I said to you?
Something like that, yeah.
Yeah, and then I think we both talked about the CG, or the CGI in the movie. Where do you want to start off here? Where do you want to kind of get into it here? I mean, I want to avoid comparing it to the other Mad Max, to Mad Max Fury Road. I think we're inevitably going to.
Yeah, I don't think you can stop that. This is a direct sequel, or prequel.
Yeah. So I guess it's been about a day since we saw this. So has your opinion changed much since we watched it, or what say you?
No, I mean, I think it's the same. It's good. I would love to see another Mad Max film, but it didn't have that wow factor the last one, because like you said, and we were saying when the movie ended, there's so much digital in this. There's so much that's not as impressive because it's a lot of stuff has this weird ramped up kind of quick motion to it, which is very weird. They did a little bit in the last movie, but they do it a lot more in this one. And so much of it is to hide digital aspects. And I think that the length doesn't help it. I think that the last one was such a concise one long car chase, and that's perfect. And this one is trying to be this grand epic telling the story of Furiosa, but it's both too long and not long enough.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you just sent me a meme where they like skip over a giant section of her life, probably the most important or most interesting section. And it just like jumps in these different chapters. I just don't feel as connected to this Furiosa and this Furiosa's mission as I was to, and let's be honest, like Mad Max Fury Road is also Furiosa's movie. Mad Max is in it, which is part of the Mad Max thing, is he's kind of there, but it's somebody else's movie every time. Minus probably the original. I prefer that Furiosa to this one. And I think that's a lot of that's probably Charlize Theron, and a lot of that's also the mission and the conciseness of the last one as well.
Yeah. So you're saying you prefer the story of Furiosa or the tale they tell in Fury Road rather than the tale they're telling here.
it's not a complete story because her story completes in Fury Road.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't think that helps it either. And then I think both of us were saying that her end scene with Dementis, who is the main bad guy, the main villain of the story, it doesn't live up to the 2 hours and 20 minutes you've been watching the story. It doesn't really, a lot of his dialogue is good, like we talked about, but like her dialogue isn't very strong at the end, where you really feel like it's, I don't know if it doesn't feel like it's earned, or at least it doesn't feel like it's, I don't know, epic enough or strong enough, her last bit of dialogue with him. So I think that helped with that.
And they use a lot of that in the trailer when she's yelling at him that she wants her childhood back, she wants her mother back, and they use
I want it back. Yeah. I want it back.
Yeah.
Which also goes against the face of a lot of how her character has been the entire movie. Like,
yeah, she
seems so on brand and so easily adapted to this world that she lives in. And then at the end, it's like, but she's not. Like, I just didn't buy that last bit of dialogue from her.
Yeah, I mean, we've only seen it once, or I've only seen it once. So my opinion,
I've also only seen it once.
I don't know if you snuck back or something. My opinion can change, obviously, and I wanted to watch Fury Road again before this, but but unfortunately, I have children that are not old enough to see the movie, so I can't just put it on and watch it. So I have to like be tactical when I put it on. And I wanted to watch it just to kind of, because I knew we were going to talk about both films a little bit, and I didn't want to, praise Fury Road too much until I saw it again, just to kind of make sure what my feelings were about the movie or what I liked about it. But I think I told you in the theater that I felt that with Fury Road, there was a story, there was a goal to achieve for Max, even for Furiosa, and in this one, I didn't really. It was kind of nebulous. Like she, she was hell bent on getting back at Dementis, but we kind of took a left turn a little. It was a coming of age. It was like an origin story almost. And I think we've talked about origin stories on the main show and on this now showing series, where origin stories are very difficult to tell because it's an expo dump half the time, and you have to explain certain things. You have to like, how did she lose her arm? Like that whole thing, like that was because you already knew she didn't have an arm, like stuff like that. So yeah, and I think that you kind of are forced to hit on story elements and story points in an origin story. And some people can do it well. Some people can't. It's very tough. It's very difficult to do. It's probably one of the more difficult type stories to tell in a movie form, because I think in a book if you're writing a book, you obviously have a lot more time and energy and space and pages to elaborate on a lot of stuff. But in a movie, you've got an audience for, well, in this case 148 minutes, but you've got an audience for, let's say, 2 hours. You gotta hit those beats quick and hard, and they gotta be it's gotta, the audience has to buy in, and you have to make them buy in. So it's difficult. So I will give it that. But with this one, just to go back to my original point, Fury Road felt like, I'm on a mission. We're doing this. I'm rescuing these, the wives from what's his name again? Morton Joe. And, and Mad Max is just trying to escape. He's trying to break free, and then he's going to help her and help them. In order to break free and escape, but he's got a sense of duty and honor. And this one, it's just like I said, it's kind of meanders a little bit. You made a reference to the whole stuff of Praetorian Jack, where he says, "I'm going to train you. I'm going to show you the ways that me, I sent you." And then like, no, nothing. And then it's like, boom, you're ready. It's like you don't ever see
the next scene is he's at the end. Yeah.
And I'm wondering. My question to you would be: do you think that they focus too much on young Furiosa, and that's why we miss out on some of, Anya Taylor-Joy's Furiosa? I mean, she doesn't show up until like what, an hour in, 45 minutes, I think an hour and something in.
It seems like close to, not quite half, but close to half the movie. Yeah, it's not Anya Taylor-Joy's character. I think that definitely hurts it a little bit, because I think we want to see more how Furiosa became Praetorian Furiosa, how she became that kind of badass heroine, and we get too much of child Furiosa with Dementis, and it's like there's already a reason to hate him pretty early on, and then they just keep on with the child. Like then she's with Immortan Joe, and then she has to escape, and then like you could still show some of that, but you could show it a lot faster than how they do it, to the point where we should get through to a mission that she's on for Immortan Joe, maybe halfway through the movie, because we should already have met Anya Taylor-Joy maybe after chapter, quote unquote, because the movie's in chapters, after chapter 2.
Yeah, no, when that came on, I was like, oh no, chapters.
There's 5 chapters, I believe.
There's 5 or 6, but I think like the last one like is just the long end of the movie. So it's almost like they get, you know what I mean? They get longer. Why do you think, and this has nothing to do with the movie, but I'm curious, where do you think a lot of the over the top praise comes from for this movie? Like, why do you think people, I mean, and I'm not taking away from anybody. I'm not arguing with that. There's just so much positivity surrounding this movie. So much like, I love this film. This is a great film, kind of like with Dune Part 2 a little bit, but I'm curious, do you just think that we're just seeing that because it's bots, or do you think that it's genuine?
I think some of it's bots. I think a lot of the Anya Taylor-Joy is the next huge thing in movies. I think that's a lot of that. I mean, not to take away from Anya Taylor-Joy and all her other projects.
I think that's what you're exactly doing right here, Butler.
But I do think a lot of that like crazy love for an actor that comes right after a movie is bots, is studio interference. I also think that a lot of it comes from just, and I thought about this right before we recorded, I think a lot of it between this and Dune is, I think people are now hungry for different movies, stuff that's not Marvel. I hate to always bring up Marvel, but that's like what's proliferated the summer box office for so long. Like not just one, but lately we were getting 2 at the end. We were getting like 2 summer movies that were Marvel. And I think people are hungry for action films or sci-fi films or escapism that isn't tied to big Disney franchises that do something a little different. And I think that a lot of the praise is also a lot of these reviewers and a lot of these people probably didn't see Fury Road in theaters. I know Fury Road ended up doing money over time.
That was 2015. I had to look at the poster behind me. That was 2015. Yeah. So I don't see.
Yeah. But it came out a long time ago, but it was kind of like, oh man, this is big. People really like this. Like it wasn't a huge movie. And I think it took people by surprise. So there's a sequel to this movie people have kind of wanted to see more of for almost 10 years. There's that hype train surrounding it. Same with Dune Part 2. There's that hype train over after seeing Dune Part 1. Like, where can they go with this? It's so different. It's so original. It's so creative. And it's not the same. It's not filmed the same. It is all digital, and that's not all digital. There's still some impressive stunt work, but there's a lot more digital. But I think even then, just the fact that it's a different kind of action that most people aren't used to seeing nowadays, or for a while, they're just glomming onto. They have this love for it that probably would fizzle out faster than usual, but they need, I think a lot of people, including myself, just want that those original IPs, or even though Mad Max is, 40, 50 years old at this point as a franchise, they want that freshness that you haven't had in a long time. And even though I think a lot of this might not be as good as Fury Road, it's still good. And it's refreshing to see something a little different.
So just to counter that, I'm going to counter 2 things. One, I want to talk about, you talked about Fury Road doing well in the box office. It did.
It did well. Yeah.
So, I mean, it made back I just have the numbers in front of me. That's why. So it's opening weekend, it did $45 million. Its domestic gross was 154. And then its worldwide total was 380. Its first weekend, it wasn't number 1. I think its first week it was number 2. So it was like 2 the first week, second week's 3. So it kind of starts dipping off maybe after the 4th weekend where it goes to number 4 and 5. But it still did. It was a hit. I think we were both at the theater at the time, so it definitely was a big hit in terms of.
It was a hit, but I remember it. Like people didn't expect it to be a huge hit because I remember what was number 1 that week. Do you have that?
Ooh, let's see.
Because I remember we did not get it in IMAX because something that I think was expected to be a bigger movie just took its spot, and some IMAXs got it back later on in its release because it did okay. It was doing well over time.
No, because I can't get to the part where. I don't even remember where this stuff is. Show me where it is. I'm telling the computer. Here we go. So I said May 15th, right? Pitch Perfect 2.
If that's what you're supposed to.
So Pitch Perfect 2, and they both came out the same week.
Okay.
And Pitch Perfect did nearly $70 million opening weekend, and this one did 45. Remember when theaters were cranking?
Busy. This is Furiosa certainly didn't do those numbers.
No, so Furiosa has only done its opening weekend it did 26 million, and it has a $168 million budget. Fury Road had a $150 million budget. I think I don't know. I mean, I would think that it's going to make its money back. And you're going to see this on digital soon.
Good word of mouth will help.
You're going to see this on digital soon. But the other thing I wanted to not push back, but just kind of you brought it up. I think the idea of audiences want newer IPs and audiences want something other than superhero movies and stuff like that. I think that's what they say, but like movie like The Creator comes out, doesn't do business. That's extremely on its own. This film comes out, doesn't do business. I think that they want something new. I just don't think they know what that is. I think they probably want something similar to. They want like an Iron Man. They want when Iron Man came out, and it was such a big thing. It was a an event film to go to, much like Dune was, Dune Part 2. They want an event film to go to that they can rally around. But also Furiosa's lack of box office is not a reflection on the product. It's a reflection on the times, and it's a reflection on the new Hollywood of streaming and of digital release and studios quick trigger to get to those digital numbers because they make more money off the digital releases. There's the share is greatly in favor of studios, and at the end of the day, it's about the dollar. It's about the money. And it's also about the international box office is heavily weighed more so than the domestic box office. So it's all about that. It's not a reflection of the movie itself. Like I don't think we're being overly critical. I think we both enjoyed this film. I think there's some things that we just kind of were not like, I kind of wish that wasn't like that. Just to go back to the movie itself, when we were talking about the CGI, I had the same feeling when in the beginning of the film, you meet Furiosa as a young child, young Furiosa, played by Alila Brown, I think. Yeah. And she gets kidnapped by those 4 biker dudes who are part of Dementis's, I guess, roving band of gangs. And the mother sees her getting shaken off. She runs back to hop on the horse, and as she goes back, the horse is coming. She turns digital and hops on the horse. Like you remember that scene? I think I said it. Okay. Mm-hmm. I had the same thought the same feeling I had at that moment was the same feeling I had in Phantom Menace when it was the wide shot of Qui-Gon Jinn and Obi-Wan in the hangar, and it was their digital. Oh,
and they fall out.
They jump down digitally. I'm just like, oh, like. I saw that and I was just like, "Ooh, that's okay." And then I saw this, and when I saw this, I was like, "Okay." Same feeling that I was just
the Qui-Gon and Obi-Wan falling out of the vent makes me like cringe every time. It's the worst shot in that movie. It's so poorly done. They just look like 2 rubber balls, just kind of like computer rubber balls falling off a thing.
And I get it. It's probably cheaper, easier to do that. And they're throughout the movie when the war boys are on the top of the rig and they're getting blown off. Those are all digital, and because you're from a far distance, but I understand why you do it, and I totally get it, but it still pulls you out a little bit of the movie. Do you know what I mean?
If the thing is though, like Fury Road did so much practical that. Like you'd say, like, all right, it's okay, but you have a precedent to live up to. Like that and John Wick are what everyone talks about why stunts need Oscars. It's always Fury Road and John Wick, and then we go here and it's just all digital actors. It's all digital action, or so much of it is, and then you like ramp it up in a weird way. That it really bothered me because that's why you went to Mad Max. Like, that's why Mad Max did well. It's like, holy crap, all this is real. You got to go see it. And no, none of it's real.
Well, I mean,
none of it's like,
and again,
very little of it comparatively.
Yeah, and again, that's why I wanted to go back to Fury Road, because I don't want to look upon that with rose-colored glasses without going back and seeing where there was CGI in that, and seeing how it was done. Because I don't want to sit here and say that, you know, it's so much better because they didn't use it in Fury Road. I know they did. I just need to go see it again to kind of like get a really good opinion on that, and especially when talking about this film. So I mean, who did you? I mean, I know you're going to say Chris Hemsworth, but let's not say Chris Hemsworth. Besides him as Dr. Dementis, who stood out to you as a performance that you enjoyed?
I actually really liked. I mean, there's the two brothers. I think I liked Rictus. Not Scrotus. Scrotus is the big guy.
No,
Rictus.
Rictus, or it's rectus, like rectum.
Oh, rectus. Okay, I thought it was rictus, like being
no, you're right.
hard.
It is. Okay. It is. It's rictus or rectus.
That's
My
rictus.
bad.
Yeah.
My bad. Okay. No, so he was the big guy.
Rictus was not the dumb one. He was the big guy.
Yeah.
Okay, so I like Scrotus.
Okay.
Scrotus. I think Scrotus stands out to me. I thought he was good. He was well done. He was smarter, but still kind of just way too cocky. But I really liked, and I knew they'd have to do this, is making Immortan Joe not necessarily the villain, because she ends up working for him by the time that she's the Praetorian that we see.
Right.
So Immortan would have to be the lesser of the two evils. So I thought that was interesting. You also see him as less of an idiot. He's calling the shots, and they're actually pretty decent, like tactical decisions. Mm-hmm. So it's like, there's a reason he owns this section of the wasteland. They're the reason so many people follow him. He's not dumb. Mm-hmm. But yes, overall, Dementis, like Chris Hemsworth was the standout in this film, obviously.
Why do you know why offhand they gave him the fake nose and the fake teeth? And
I think so that you don't go, ooh, it's Chris Hemsworth, and you're not as distracted. Okay. He's a little more off-putting. He's a little different looking.
Okay, I'm just curious why they went that route. And Immortan Joe is played by a different actor, because the actor who played him previously had passed away. He was older, and he passed away. So I'm wondering if. I'm curious if, let's say, the actor was still with us because he's much older. I'm wondering if Immortan Joe has more lines in this film. You know, I wonder if because this is the most I've heard him talk in this film and in all the movies. And I'm wondering if that's because he was younger and they can give him more stuff to do. Do you know offhand why he's got the what's underneath the plastic guard that he wears?
I think it's feeding him. It's feeding him like hydration, I believe.
Okay.
Under that, it's like protecting his skin and hydrating it. I think. Again, I haven't watched the last. I've seen the last one a ton of times, just not in the last few years.
Right.
But I believe it's like feeding him stuff, and then the tubes come up as well, and they're feeding him oxygen.
Okay.
But I believe that's helping his skin down below.
And you had made the comment that you don't think they're going to do another one, but if this one doesn't do business, I also think with George Miller being 79, pushing 80, I think that's a real tough task to ask of him. Well, I know while he filmed this one, he wrote a prequel, another prequel to Fury Road that stars Mad Max and how he gets his interceptor stolen, up to him getting the interceptor stolen. So I know he says he's got another movie written. He really wants to do another Mad Max film. But yeah, like you said, he's older. And this one, if it doesn't make more money, we're going to get, and maybe that'll be better if he wants to do it, but they give him a more bare bones budget. Maybe you get a harder kind of bare bones raw Mad Max, which I'd be okay with as well. Yeah. You'd prefer that.
That's how he made. Yeah. I mean, that's how the first two were. I mean, the first one was almost no budget. The first one was out of his, I believe, because he was an orthodontist, I believe, in Australia beforehand. And he put a lot of his own money and got friends and family money, and he made the original Mad Max. And then he got some studio money for the second one, which I cannot remember the name of off the top of my head now. Road Warrior, yes. And then obviously Thunderdome had a budget, and then Thunderdome gets weird.
Well, the first three movies pretty much brought Mel Gibson to the States, you know, kind of put him on the map a little bit. And then obviously we know, I don't know, Lethal Weapon, was that the first one he jumped right into from there? Maybe not.
If not the first one, close too.
But that kicked off his career. So yeah. And then I don't know if you've ever watched any of the Ozploitation films, like these are considered Ozploitation. You've heard that? Have you heard that phrase before? That term before?
I've heard that, but I haven't seen too many Ozploitation films.
It's basically just over the top action, wicked stunts, a lot of blood, but it's like 70s blood, 80s, but like really bright red.
Right. Yeah.
But very, very much like it's basically guys people doing movies with no safety measures. It's like a lot of that stuff. There's some really cool stuff you see. There's like really like, oh my God, I can't believe they did that. And there's really cool action stuff and stunts, but there's like it's like a small subset genre of the action film world. And I recommend you try to like dig into it a little bit, or anybody who's, if you heard of it, or if you want to go catch some. I wish I had some off the top of my head to kind of suggest. Maybe that's a good video for us to do down the road, kind of just on the YouTube page. Or excuse me, on the channel.
Films,
well, yeah, just kind
breaking them down.
Going into, I mean, not to get on a tangent, but going into genre films that we never would talk about, we never would cover. You know what I mean? I think that might be a little fun for us. But anyways, back to this. Are there any other points that we haven't covered with Furiosa, or what we haven't discussed yet?
I mean, we haven't really talked about Anya Taylor-Joy.
Go ahead.
I just don't think
she's in it.
She's in it. I was a little disappointed. Like, I don't understand why, if you're going to go to literally right before the point of putting the wives in the truck, why you just don't have Charlize, at least in the end scenes. I know that she didn't have a fun time filming the film, but I don't think it was. Okay. I couldn't find anything about that. I also thought it was odd that Charlize is a taller woman. Mm-hmm. Like, she stands toe to toe with Max in the film. And in this movie, they make her look, and I don't know Anya Taylor-Joy's height off the top of my head, obviously. I haven't looked it up, but they make her look small in this film, even the adult version. Like, when she's supposed to be like getting close to or becoming the prey, she's already a Praetorian at that point by the time she shaves her head. And a lot of the scenes, they make her look small compared to everybody. And I didn't understand that when Furiosa was tall compared to a lot of people. Like, she was toe to toe with a lot of the male characters. So I thought that was a little weird. I think we talked about that when we first saw it. Like, she just doesn't exude that gravitas that maybe Charlize did. And I think that might be part of the reason, is it's kind of like they shrunk Furiosa a little bit.
She's 5'8", according to internet.
All right, so she's not short, but some of the shots, they make her look that way.
Yeah, I mean, she might be up next to a lot of guys that are taller, and just how it
Chris
is.
Hemsworth obviously very tall.
Yeah, Charlize Theron is 5'10". So, I mean, I don't know. I think it's just, I mean, yeah, it's tough because you have an actress that's already kind of stamped that role, and and it's not like it's not like Theron has been in 3 other movies as Furiosa. And now you have somebody else playing her again. So it does kind of, you are inherently comparing the two when you just because, and so I'm, it all depends on, some people might really love, Anya Taylor-Joy in this compared to Charlize. They might prefer this version, and that's fine too. It's just, I guess it's just all about preference and what you like with the character. I think anything with the character, anything that happens within the movie, I don't think it lands at the feet of either actress. I think it lands at the feet of the screenwriter and the people that created the story, what they gave each actress to work with. So I think that's where, if there's an issue with like, I prefer this over that, it's not about, I don't think it's about the talent that's acting. I think it's about, okay, well, they have fleshed out the character better in this one for you, or they explain a little bit more in this one. So I think that is all about the script. For me, I don't think
that's a very political answer compared to what you were talking about, compared to what your reaction was when the film ended. I don't know if you're is Anya Taylor-Joy watching this right now? No. Are you afraid? Yeah. Are you afraid to speak your mind?
First of all, it's been a day and a half since we watched it. So initial reactions, what's your
reaction? What's your reaction now?
As I drink, I just like
you don't have to compare her to Charlize, just like
I'm trying to
her character and how she carried her character. Yeah, it doesn't have to be necessarily a comparison like I did.
I think no, I I agree with what you were saying before. I don't think she's on screen enough. Like, I think that we need to see her more. I think we need to see her learn the stuff with Praetorian Jack, the meme I sent you that we were joking about. I think we don't see her as the older version of Furiosa learning all this stuff. You know, we just see she's tenacious. She jumps onto that Jeep when the whole thing where they're lifting up the truck, not the Jeep, they're lifting up the truck and they need to, we see that scene. Okay. We don't ever see her in any kind of trouble, except the one scene when Jack tells her, I'll show you everything I know. You know what I mean? Like, we never see her in any dire need of like Rictus recognizing her from as being a child. Her tattoo that she had as a child, you know, it's never like, ooh, somebody's going to see it. We never get any of that. So we don't kind of get, I don't think we get to be with her enough to really kind of root for her. So when I said to you, like, I just don't believe that she could do some of this stuff that she's doing, I think that's because I wasn't led to I couldn't buy in a little bit.
Do you think it's like a superhero movie where you don't actually see them become the superhero? It's like you spend all the time with Clark Kent in Kansas on the farm farming, and then all of a sudden he's Superman in the next scene.
I mean, I'm trying to remember Superman because he just appears, right?
He does just appear as well.
They do a good job of it in Man of Steel. They kind of like lead up to it a little bit.
Of him doing other stuff. Yeah.
So they kind of lead up to it a little bit, but also Superman is so iconic. So, Furiosa is like one movie old. Fury Road old.
True. Plus, in the original Superman, by the time after he gets out of Kansas, only like 20 minutes of the movie's done. It's not an hour.
They kind of get through it. Yeah. It's basically like the setup. I'm trying to think where, like, because Mad Max is somebody that we already kind of know from other movies.
Plus, he's got his whole movie where he's the cop. So you kind of, if you had seen the original, you know where he's coming from.
I think for me, just because I liked Mad Max Fury Road so much and I liked Charlize Theron's Furiosa, that I think it's difficult for me to see anyone else as that so quick and just kind of like, I need to see you like she performed. And I don't know. Cause she really doesn't do much except that one firefight scene where they're shooting, where they're trapped in Bullet Town. Oh, and I want to ask you about that stuff too. And then on the truck, on the giant rig. And then I guess when they catch it at the end, and then just like when she's in like when she traps Dementis and she catches them, and then we have that whole triple ending where like this happened and this happened. I don't know. It's tough because it's so fresh and because I wanted to watch the other one. I don't know if I answered your question, but I just don't know. But let me ask you the whole stuff with Bullet Town and Gas Town and the Citadel. Is that new? Is Bullet Town and is new and Gas Town new for this kind of
Gas
world?
Town's definitely not new. Okay. I believe they talked about Gas Town in the last one. Bullet Town might be new.
This whole like third fortress of the wasteland, like that kind of thing.
Yeah. But also I played the Mad Max game where they talk about a lot of these things. Okay. And I think George Miller had a hand in like figuring out like, this is what the world is like.
Well, this is what Australia is like.
But I know yeah. But I'm pretty sure that, yes, Gastown is in the last one because they talk about like they got the Lord of Gastown. I don't know who it is after Dementis, but the Lord of Gastown comes to help. The banker comes to help. And I think there's maybe a new bullet guy, or it's the old bullet guy again, and he comes back.
What you're talking about in Fury Road?
In Fury Road, yeah. Because they all team up to help.
His brother. It's his brother. Isn't it? Because
in this one.
In Fury Road 2, it's his brother, I thought, that's driving one of the giant trucks. See, I have to watch it again. I have to say.
Maybe his brother is the Bullet Town. Yeah, the Bullet Town guy is in there because he's got the two guns and he's like, in one scene. The banker's definitely there with his nipples. I remember him.
Oh yeah, no.
So they do bring a bunch of people back.
The stupid gold nose. Yeah. Even
obviously, Scrotus is in there because in the Fury Road, he's like, I had a baby brother, and he was perfect in every way. And I like how they bring back the doctor because the doctor is in Fury Road, and they show how he was part of Dementis' crew, and he got kind of conscripted into Immortan's place.
Yeah, I had never. I mean, I guess I must. I mean, Gastown makes sense. I'm sure I knew it, and I just forgot it. But then when Bullet Town or whatever it was, Bullet Town.
This Bullet Town.
I just didn't. I was like, this is new. I mean, it makes sense. They need a place to make all that stuff, but I was just like, that's new. Yeah.
Filled with bullets. Fed a lot of cabbage.
Yeah, and potatoes. Cabbage and potatoes. Although we never see the greenery on top of the Citadel, but we never see we never really see the
farms.
Garden. Yeah, we never really see where it's grown. You know, and who does it? Who do the war boys don't tend to the garden? Someone else does, right? There's other people that in there that tend to it.
There's probably other people. Yeah, war boys are just doing the war stuff.
Yeah.
They need to die, be witnessed. Yeah. Shiny and chrome.
Only a couple. There are references to it in this a little bit, but like if you didn't watch the other one, you wouldn't know what exactly is going on there. You notice that? Yeah,
it's kind of a hey. If you watch Fury Road, you're really going to learn more about the War Boys. Yeah,
right. Because you learn it a lot from Nicholas Holt's character. Like, you know, what he wants to be, what he was trying to do. And you learn all of that, the war boy mentality. You don't get that here at all. So I'm curious, you know what I mean? Like that's almost like if you don't see this movie, you don't even know what's going on. If this is your first time seeing a Mad Max Saga type film.
Yeah. Which you're going to be like, who's this guy? Yeah. Why is this important?
Why do I care about this? So we're sitting here knowing, so that's a good point, because if somebody goes into this not knowing anything about Mad Max and they see these guys spraying them and they're jumping, they get the dedication, but they don't understand what they're doing. And so it's interesting because somebody comes in here for the first one, they might not like it as much, or maybe that's why they do love it, because they don't know, they haven't seen the other stuff. Who knows?
It's not tied to all the other stuff.
Yeah, maybe.
I do like I like the Mad Max cameo. I thought that was cool.
Yeah, I think we were trying to figure out if that was a digital version of Mel Gibson or not. I do want to see it again to see if they actually just kind of like tossed him in there like that, because it didn't feel like it was a Tom Hardy. It felt like somebody taller, so it felt like, that's why I was like, is that Mel? Well, Mel Gibson's not that tall, so I don't know why I'm saying that.
Well, he definitely, whoever it was, definitely had darker hair, so it definitely wasn't. They weren't trying to make it Tom Hardy,
right.
But it was definitely his Interceptor and all that kind of stuff. I think his car's called the Interceptor. I could be wrong.
I believe you.
Someone tell me in the comments what it really is, guys.
I'm going to do it right now. It's going to be me. You're wrong. All right. So we both like this movie. We don't love it, but we like it quite a bit, I think, right?
I do like it. I think I need to watch it again.
Yeah, agreed.
Like you said, I think we both should watch Fury Road again. My main gripe is that it's a little disconnected because it's telling us such a large story and we don't get adult Furiosa till too late and the digital action. But maybe some of the stunt work was just so good in Fury Road that there was a lot of digital and
we didn't see it.
I was just distracted by the real stuff. Yeah,
maybe. And there was a lot. I mean, the music's good in this, but nothing beats, what is it? The Brothers in Arms. Is that the name of the song that the score that plays when they are chasing him down? I think that's the name.
Oh yeah. That it's the same composer, but it's not quite as a hard hitting soundtrack as the last.
No, yeah. But it's still good. But I think there's just, I mean, Fury Road's a really strong film. So it's not like, it's not a negative to say like we like that film better than this one. We like this movie. It's just not as much as we like the other one. That's not a negative. It's just, I think our initial reactions are we're just being honest.
But I do like the Mentis. I like his whole spiel. I like that you get some of his background without going way too far into his background. He never becomes sympathetic, but he comes from a place like he was probably like a lot of the characters, a regular person before all this happened.
Sure.
And he just turned into a monster. And I kind of like his spiel at the end.
Do they ever say how far in the future they are from when everything went to, what? Like,
I don't think they ever do, but obviously Max is still around and he was a cop at the end.
Sure.
Praetorian Jack.
Immortan Joe, Praetorian Jack. Yep.
Praetorian Jack. Yep. He talks about how his parents were soldiers toward the end times. Yep. So I think you're getting like
30 years, 40 years,
30 years. Yeah, 30, 40 tops.
Sure.
Probably 30 because Mad Max would be, you can't have Max be like 80. But yeah.
Why not?
You could.
Yeah, indeed.
So yeah, I think you're a few decades after.
Okay, that makes sense. Awesome. So I mean, I hope everyone out there checks it out. Hopefully, I know it's a big push to get in theaters, to watch it in theaters, but honestly, it's probably going to be in digital soon anyways, because that's usually how it goes now these days.
Fall Guy, I went digital 2 weeks later.
Yeah. So, and I watched that. So yeah. So so I guess check it out. Mike, if you want to do our spiel, I guess, where they can find us, or what's coming up for us.
Witness us.
I don't have my spray.
You don't have your Chrome?
No.
You can find us on ForgottenCinemaPodcast.com or wherever you get your podcasts, or wherever you watch this on YouTube. You're watching this on YouTube, like, subscribe, all that kind of good stuff. We're also on Patreon. If you join our Patreon, it's free to join. You get invited into our Discord group where you tell us all about the movies that you like this summer. Talk to us about Mad Max. Join one of our tiers, support us. Our show is made possible by our Patreon supporters.
Supporters like you.
The supporters get early access to episodes. They get our lead up series, which is a special series, plus other special episodes that we do that talk about other films other than our normal Forgotten Cinema show, where we talk about forgotten films. Check out our regular show if you want to hear us talk about those forgotten films that seem to be forgotten by audiences. And catch us on our next now showing. In a couple of weeks, we're going to be doing Bad Boys.
Ride or Die.
Ride or Die. Yeah.
You were going to say For Life. I know I saw you pause there.
It should have been. But yeah, Bad Boys Ride or Die in a couple of weeks. We're going to be doing them now showing.
Yeah. And I think tomorrow, this is the live, but tomorrow we've got our new episode of Forgotten Cinema coming out. Killing Fields?
Mr. and Mrs. Smith.
Damn it. I always forget. God. Mr. and Mrs. Smith. So that's going to come out tomorrow for the podcast, for the main show. And then, so content train keeps rolling along. Thanks everyone for watching. Check out Furiosa. Check out what we've got going on. Let me stop this ticker. Have a great night, everyone. I'm Mike Field.
I'm Mike Butler.
And this has been Forgotten Cinema, now showing.